Hello and welcome to the Hero Within podcast. My guest today is Nate Zeleznick, and I am so grateful to have him come and speak to us today. He also goes by Nate Anais, and he is a breathwork and healing practitioner. He is the founder of Integrated Ascension Method, where he shares the intersection of breathwork and nervous system regulation with neuroscience and biohacking. And Nate has been featured on numerous platforms across the globe, has spoken to audiences of more than 14 million people a week. And the thing that makes his conversation so interesting is this is based on his own lived experience. And Nate has done a lot of research and has learned some amazing things that I think you will all be fascinated to hear about his healing journey. And so, just as a clarification, Nate, if you have anything else that you would like to add to that, I want you to be free to tell us more. But if you could start before this pivotal moment that we're going to talk about, if you could tell us a little bit about you before any of the titles, any of the work that you're doing, that you're known for. Tell us about you in that season of your life.
I'm a Utah native. I've been born and raised here in a small town called Huntsville. And for those of you who know it's a small farm town. It's getting bigger. But growing up in the 70s and 80s, I was a very much outcast person because my parents and myself were not of the predominant religion here in Utah. And so that made me an easy target. I also was the smallest person in my grade. So I had a lot of bullying. I had a lot of torment by my peers and sometimes even their parents because of my different, non-religious beliefs, because I didn't know any different. And so that really set the stage for me to want to be the kind of person that reaches out and helps people less fortunate than myself in all areas, because I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to not belong or to not fit in or to not be the strong. And so for the past 27 years, I have been one of only two American master trainers of an ancient royal system of martial arts, but also energy development, building the energy, the chi, the electric potential of our body, energy healing, deep meditations, and also sensory perception beyond the physical, beyond our normal five senses, which I've been featured on Gaia, Amazon Prime, Netflix, on numerous podcasts, large and small, from my own webinars, done all kinds of publicity. I've spoken on stages of thousands to an audience of 10 million at one time. And this has always been centered around how can I contribute while I'm here on the planet? There are so many people that are looking for answers, but the answers are always within ourselves. That's why I'm not the person that says, this is what you need to do. Instead, I've devoted my life to learning ways that can help people unwrap or unpeel the onion for themselves and find that truth within themselves, not only for their physical health, but also for their mental health and their energetic health as well. And so I've lived many, many lifetimes in this one. And I am actually going to be publishing my memoir within the next 6 months or so, which is called The Golden Knight, because I've always been that guardian, that person that stood up for everybody else, even if it meant I was going to get hurt. Putting myself in harm's way has never been a second thought when it comes to helping those people who need my help right now. And so this is going to be an amazing book, and I look forward to speaking about it on large stages, on more and more digital platforms. And overall, I should say, since earlier this year, when what we're going to talk about came about, I'm happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here every single day.
That was the thing that just really touched my heart when I met Nate, was how he had such deep empathy for other people. And even with the challenges that he has gone through and the challenges that he is facing, he still turns it around to how can I serve others? How can I share what I've learned? How can I share, my experience, my wisdom, and how does this help me to have even more empathy? I mean, I don't even know how to even say that's possible, because Nate has so much empathy, but how can I even go deeper in my lived experience to understand and to have more to offer those around me? And so I appreciate that so much. The other thing that is phenomenal about Nate is his gratitude. And because of that goal to serve, he's grateful for what he is going through and what he has gone through because he sees it as helping him to serve. And I have seen that as well, that many times the most empathetic people have gone through suffering of their own. And Marianne Williamson said it so well. She said, suffering gives you x-ray vision into the suffering of others. And I feel that is so true with Nate. And so thank you, Nate, so much for what you bring to the audience and what you are going to share with us today. And you have so much, looking back, what stands out to you that, when you uncovered some of these things, were you feeling something different going on in your body? Like what was happening in you that helped you recognize that something was off?
What a great question. So if anybody out there can relate to this, have you ever had a situation where you knew something wasn't right in your body or even in your mind, but you couldn't put your finger on it? But have you also ever been that stubborn person that just won't go to the doctor and find out? I'm actually the poster child for that, I believe. And so last year, now it was September of 2024, I started having some interesting sensations in my body where I would lose sensation of part of my face and then it would come back. And I didn't think a whole lot of it. I knew it was different and I never had that before, but then things would get better. So it's like, well, don't fix what is fixing itself. Okay. But in February of 2025, I was co-facilitating a very high-level meditation and energy work, and more like a yoga retreat in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Beautiful place with all this dense foliage, jungles, and beautiful high-level instructors of different modalities that I was teaching there. And I lost all sensation of my body, meaning I did not feel my skin, to the point where I don't know if anybody else out there's like this, but if you've ever had a sliver while you're on vacation, you know that it's a good idea to bring a needle. So I always carry a needle. So I got my lighter out, I sterilized the needle, and I stuck it right in my arm, and I just looked at it, and I didn't feel anything. And I just went, well, that's obviously normal. And so I continued. I did not let on what I was feeling, or actually not feeling. I started having vertigo and dizziness, and then the trails and the road would wobble underneath me. But I knew it wasn't the trails wobbling. I knew it was me. And I was thinking, wow, this is really not good. As soon as I get back home, I'm going to the doctor. And it finally got severe enough that when I got home the next day, I went to the ER. And they x-rayed my chest. Perfect. Did my blood work. Yeah, could have been better, but it wasn't bad. They put all these electrodes all over me. Heart was perfect. And then they said, we're going to do an MRI. And I said, let's rule everything out. Now, Karen, at this time, when I was in Mexico, I already knew what was happening. I had this just deep inner knowing, this intuition that something was wrong in my brain. Now, people have called me crazy and nuts for years because of what I've done and what I've said, yes, let's go do that. But this was something different, obviously. And so when the doctor walked in, and he had this very solemn look on his face, and he said, Mr. Zeleznick, I need to see you in the hall, please. And that's when my heart started going really fast. And I'm like, you never want to be called to the principal's office. And I walked out and I saw a screen, and he started flipping through some slides of the MRI, and he stopped on one. And I will never forget this. This was March 3rd, 2025 I even looked down at my watch, 2:17 p.m. because I knew before he said anything, I knew my life was never going to be the same. And, if you've ever been knocked down to your knees so hard that you never thought you'd be able to get back up, and if you did, you knew you couldn't be the same person. That was that moment for me.
Ooh.
And as I looked at this, and he said, you see this white ball right here? I said, yeah. He said, that's a brain tumor, and it's inoperable. It's on your brainstem, pushing on the center for breathing, which I thought was very ironic because I've been a breathwork master teaching globally for decades. But to have something on the brainstem, I was like, okay. So it didn't take very long, though. He's like, well, let's just watch it for about 6 months, have you come to another MRI. And I was like, no, we're not going to wait 6 months. I'm going to do something about this right now. Maybe it's the martial artist in me. I don't want to get punched a second time. I want to take some action. And
Right.
so I decided within about an hour, maybe 2 hours of seeing that, I was in shock, as I'm sure anybody can relate to, or they would be. And then I decided to ask a really important question that I inspire, and I ask all of my students and everybody that I've taught to ask the same question. How is this for me? How is this for me? This is a lesson. And since then, this has become my greatest blessing and lesson all in one. There are challenges, yes. There are some things that are not optimal that I don't prefer, yes. However, I realize that being an infinite, unlimited, eternal being that is able to create reality through laws of attraction and manifestation, as we all are with this amazing quantum computer in our head, okay, I brought this into my reality for a reason. I take full responsibility for it rather than pawning it off on something else that I don't even know what it was. I'd rather just take it on myself and say, you know what? I brought this to myself to teach myself a lesson and to, oh, wait. It didn't take very long. It was actually about a day. And I went, wait, okay, everything's figure outable. So I know I got this. I'm going to take care of this. But how can I help other people in a similar or maybe even worse situations? Give them hope, help them with what they're going through and help them support them on their journey. So once again, it turned back into, it's not about me, it's about we. And there's a saying by Ram Dass, the philosopher that many people are familiar with, that we're all kids walking each other home.
Oh, I love that.
It's a beautiful saying. And, Karen, my soul partner, Jemaya, and she listened to that and she said, I don't agree. And I went, what do you mean? It's one of the most famous spiritual quotes of all time. We're all kids walking each other home. She says, no, I don't think so. I think we're all walking ourselves home together.
What a beautiful clarification of that.
Really. And that is why it's so important that I also take that responsibility, because nobody can walk me home. You can't walk anybody's soul journey for them, but you can be there to hold their hand. Maybe once in a while, give them a piggyback ride to encourage them to keep going. You can help walk them home, but we all have to make our own journey. And so now I find myself in this very interesting odyssey, and it's been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I have to say, if not the most, of what it's helped me uncover and unravel and really become on the inside. I've been involved in the inner work for decades. My first out-of-body experience like astral projection happened when I was 12, and it kept happening. And that's a story for another time, but it had to do with the bullying, and it had to do with me almost committing suicide and my higher self saving me from myself. And I've known for a long time there are a lot more than just the physical avatar body that we get to experience this world in. And so now, after all these decades of experience and sitting tens of thousands of hours in meditation and martial arts practice and teaching and training and speaking, on March 3rd, it really became very, very poignant that it's time for the healer to heal thyself. And I've taken it as serious as a brain tumor, literally, pun intended, because it's not just about me. Because if I can do this, that means anybody can do this. And with my background, having taught, having trained, but also now doing this work on myself, this really deep inner spiritual work, as well as biohacking and supplementation and keto and losing 90 pounds and reversing my biological and my metabolic age by over 22 years in 6 months. If I could do it, that means everybody out there, you can do it too. And Jemiah and I came up with a beautiful saying while we were sitting having a dinner after a workshop that we were at, that you are the miracle you've been waiting for.
Yes, that's so, so awesome.
It is. And it's so true. And so much of the time, I think people abdicate their own power to people in white coats or their family or something they saw on TikTok that has talking about eat apricot seeds, it gets rid of all cancers. No, it doesn't. I did that for 6 months. It didn't work. So, there are certain things that it's important that people use discernment instead of just blind faith is good, but it's better to have informed faith, not blind faith, informed
Right.
faith, right?
Yeah, and that's an interesting difference because a lot of times when someone is thinking about manifestation or attracting things, they can think that that requires blind faith. But being educated and being able to use science is something that you incorporate into your life. And we were talking about neuroscience and about biohacking. And can you tell us a little bit more about how the breath work helps the body move from the struggle into the repair mode?
Absolutely. So there are many different facets of breath work. So saying breath work is like saying exercise. You can row a boat, you can ride a bike, you can go running, you can lift heavy weights. They're all exercise, but they're different. So most people are very familiar with breath work in the hyperventilation form, meaning breathing fast, over oxygenating your cells, absolutely cratering your CO2. And a lot of people get high, they have vision, some people Wim Hof breath work, holotropic breath work. These are the very famous ones, right, that people are familiar with. The type that I have been teaching for 27 years is from the royal family of Indonesia. And I became the very first non Indonesian person ever allowed to learn this in its 500-year history. So there's nothing else like it. And it's not based upon hyperventilation, it's based upon hypoventilation and proper breath holding, but not only holding our breath, because you can hold your breath till you're blue in the face and not get the same benefits. It's also very selective tension, very specific movement of the diaphragm at certain points to create a different electromagnetic field in our circulatory system, as well as moving mudras. So we'll move the body in certain ways in order to help facilitate energy flow through the meridians and through the energy centers or the chakras of the body, mixed with this hypoxic breath work. And so the difference is that some breath work, like the hyperventilation, is very good for putting you in state. It's also very adrenalizing. It really ramps up the hormones of stress and cortisol. Okay, so it gets you into a really powerful, like if you need to have energy right now, it helps you do that. This other kind of breath work, we do a little bit of that stuff, but the hypoventilation, it helps us have long-lasting energy by maximizing the mitochondrial function. It also helps to shift the blood from acid to base or to alkaline, so it's very good for that as well. And in fact, it's been used by every branch of the Indonesian military for over 55 years, including their most elite special forces, because whether you believe in the quote woo-woo or energy side, if you do, fantastic, we got you. But even if you don't, if you have a body, it will create amazing shifts, amazing energy, and perceptions within 2 to 5 minutes. It's for most people, even 20-year plus Reiki masters, they do this the first time and they're like, holy S word, because it's such a huge paradigm shift for them to not only be able to feel it that strong, but to feel it that quickly. And so those are a couple things when it comes to our immune system. Very rarely do people who practice this get colds or flus. It's like we become bulletproof on the inside in a lot of ways. And then it comes, the next part is the expansion of our consciousness and the meditations that are very unique in this system to help us not only harness the energy of the elements and truly be able to grab onto them and hold them, but also to expand our awareness beyond the five senses and perceive things in ways that really only occur in superhero movies. But we've proven it to science and medicine. And now with what I do with Integrated Ascension Method, or the IAM for short, I really focus on helping people gain their health on every single level. Not the superpowers, but the superpower within yourself, and helping to unlock whatever your superpower is, rather than say, you can only have this one. I don't believe that. I think that we're really unlimited. And it's why it's always a joy for me to have a student who's like, I just found my keys in my house 1,000 miles away. I saw them in the drawer. I told my wife, and she thought I was full of crap. And then she went, and I could hear the lady scream actually on the phone, oh my God, you found them. And so things like that, where we step into the non-local functions of consciousness in a way that's a method. It's not belief-based. You don't have to be born at a certain time of day in a certain country with a certain religion. You're human. But you're, as Marianne Williamson and many others have said, we're all a soul having a physical human experience, not the other way.
Exactly. That's so true. Well, so I know you were doing the Integrated Ascension Method, the IAM method, before getting the diagnosis of your brain cancer. How did your treatment of your clients change from before your diagnosis to after your diagnosis, or did it change?
Well, as far as my treatment of, as far as compassion, empathy, and love for my clients, no, of course not. But my emphasis, that definitely took a very big turn, because I've always been very interested in helping people be healthier. But now, Karen, it's my goal to help people live. That's a big, big paradigm shift there, because the breath work is wonderful, but now incorporating the nutrition, biohacking, frequency medicine, future sciences that are not even publicly known yet, that I've been so blessed to be able to experience with friends that are in fields that I'm just going to say it's like Star Trek, where the people are tricorder, like you're better, that kind of thing that they've done for a lot of people. And then there is the source through breath. That is such an important part, because your breath is the first thing you do when you're born. It's the last thing you do before you check out and change your address. And yet it's our most powerful, energetic, and consciousness engine. And it's something that most people never learn how to actually fully harness. And so helping people do this and not just become healthier, but especially if they have a chronic condition, whether that's the sea monster, the cancer, or it's Alzheimer's or diabetes or kidney disease or long COVID or asthma. These are just a few of the things that people have reported great results with using just the breath work alone. But we have so many things available in the 21st century that we didn't have available in the 16th century, that as powerful and beautiful as that is, when you combine them, you get something the world has never seen before. And you also get results that the world has never seen before. And I think we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg right now, actually.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that's very interesting what you said about how breath work is like saying exercise. There's a lot of breathwork practitioners. There's a lot of different styles that people use. Some people use, meditation involved with it, and different formats, that the way that they teach the principles and modes. So if you were going to describe a little bit more to our audience about the difference between what you do and what the average breathwork person does, tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Well, I'm going to say breath work is all good. So if you're doing your Wim Hof breath work, keep going with it. Just don't do it underwater. That's how people die. This is true. Several people have died now. But I would say the most important thing you can do is be aware of your breath, and then find the thing that resonates most with you. Now, as I mentioned, there were two different kinds of breath, right? But then there are many other kinds. There are short breath walks. There are slow meditative breath. There are the Buteyko method, where you breathe all the way out and hold your breath all the way out until you're like about ready to pee your pants, so uncomfortable, to harness the power of your carbon dioxide sensors and train them not to have the oxygen or carbon dioxide reaction. So the main difference is that, like I mentioned, taking this breath holding while moving our diaphragm to change the blood flow in our body and create a larger electromagnetic field through the 60,000 miles of blood vessels that we have. If you think about it, if you want to create what's called an inductance field, okay, it's a circular field of electromagnetic energy. Well, Dr. Joe Dispenza is very famous for putting this out there. I've attended his workshops before, and he says if you take a protein and a salt in a solution and accelerate it, you get an inductance field. And he does that through his Kundalini breath with the cerebrospinal fluid, for people who are aware of this, all right, which is actually kind of dangerous to be forcing that, but okay. But what we do is we actually harness that through 60,000 miles of our blood vessel. Because if you think about this, if you have too much protein in your blood, your doctors are immediately going to check you for kidney disease.
Mhm.
If you have too much salt in your blood, well, then look into the hypertension issue, right? It's too much sodium. And solution, well, that's your blood plasma. So if we take the protein and the salt in a solution and accelerate it, get an inductance field of electricity, but we're doing it through every part of us. And it's the only system that I'm aware of that does that, especially this way. And then we do certain movements that bring the energy to different parts of our body, different organs on purpose. And you can feel this. It's palpable. When people get it, they're like, oh my God, wow. It's just, it blows people's minds. And then it becomes something that becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you'll notice if you don't do it. Because I've been saying this to my students forever. You only do this integrated ascension method, or the real term is Merpati Putti for the breath work. That's white dove. Only do your Merpati Putti breath work on days you want to feel awesome. If you don't want to feel good, don't do it. It only takes 10 minutes, but if you're not willing to give yourself 10 minutes, enjoy the rest of your day as it just flows naturally. But it does give us the opportunity to really kind of grab the bull by the horn. So the bull being our day. And from the very start of your day, be able to program yourself with ample energy, not just in your cells, but as you radiate it out into the world around you, because we always are. Our heart has a electromagnetic field that goes out about 6 feet in every direction. And we can measure that because the heart has 1,000 times more electricity than our brain does. And we're always sending and receiving signals. We can't stop it. So what do we want to broadcast today? What wants to flow through us today is a very good place to start. And that's what this breath work helps people do. And you don't have to do it for 30 years in a monastery. You just start 10 minutes a day, and people usually feel it and really are able to start controlling that within a month or two.
You know, Nate, you said something that I thought was really great. If you don't want to feel better or you don't want to feel good, don't do it. But the question, what do I want to broadcast today? You know, the heart math is absolutely fascinating, how the energy that comes from our heart. We often think about it, you know, the vibe, you know, I can feel this vibe from this person or the energy that they're giving out. And we don't, it's only recently that we've been talking more in, you know, mainstream media about the energy coming from the heart. We often talked about it coming from the head, but how it actually radiates physically from the heart is absolutely fascinating. And so I think that's a beautiful question. What do I want to broadcast today? And how do I want to impact others? And your goal of serving others and looking for how is this experience for me is such a powerful paradigm shift. And I want to continue this conversation because there's so many more questions that I have for you. But I'm so looking forward to your book, The Golden Knight. It's a perfect title for you, and the way that you have lived your life looking for how you could help others, because many of us are bullied by other people. We can bully ourselves. Bullying doesn't stop when you're an adult, and knowing how to deal with those kinds of things that can affect our physical health is so important. And now to have tools that you can give people and the empathy that goes with it. That's just a beautiful combination, Nate. And Nate has such a loving energy. I've attended his Integrated Ascension Method classes, and I can attest to the fact that you do feel a difference while you are doing it. And to know that you can feel that difference and shift things within yourself in that shorter time. It doesn't take months or years, of doing the practices. You can make a difference right away. And that gives us encouragement to continue to do the practice because we can see the results. So another thing that I wanted to briefly just touch on is that Nate he has a lot of expenses for the cancer treatment that he is going through, and he's doing hyperbaric oxygen treatments that are not covered by his insurance. And so he is doing a fundraiser on Wednesday, and it is called the $1 Billion Impact event. If you could tell us a little bit more about that, Nate, and then tell us how our audience could connect with you.
Oh, beautiful. So it's called Aeneas's $1 Billion event. And it's actually myself and a famous TEDx and UN speaker by the name of Stacy Lauren, and then a gentleman named Randy Mullen, who is the founder of a foundation called Go Big to Give Big. And the three of us are coming together to do a really special event that is a high-level networking, connection, and collaboration event, plus a whole lot of fun. Stacy has been doing this for quite some time, and I've been to some of her events, and they're always just a gas. Everybody's all laughing their buns off and having a great time. And when we're doing this, the first of two events is going to be on Wednesday, the 21st of January. So 2 days from now, from 1 o'clock until 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. The second event, which is the actual auction, it's a really special. I'll explain what that is. It's an auction where, if let's say you're a high-level coach and you wanted to donate one of your coaching packages, and let's say you charge $10,000, you donate that to the event, and then everybody who's at the event gets to bid on it. So everybody's going to win. If you're the coach, you get to win because you get exposure to a bunch of people you didn't have before, a lot of whom, if not most or all of whom, would be interested in what you're doing. Only one person or whoever, you let three people win. Somebody's going to get the package for a discounted rate of what you would normally charge, but you get to network with your ideal clients and people that are interested in self-improvement, other coaches, whether they're business leaders, musicians, artists, scientists. There's going to be a wide variety of people from around the world at this. And then the proceeds will go to me to help with my healing efforts. And yes, I'm actually moving to Texas because the hyperbaric treatment is so expensive here. I'm moving to Texas for 7 weeks, 1 week from, the day of the event on the 21st, moving on the 27th, because a friend has one. He'll let me be able to use it, and I have to go down there and travel and live and still cover everything. But up here, Karen, I was quoted by one hospital that it would be $60,000 a month for 1 hour a day of hyperbaric treatment. That's $60,000 for
Wow.
So I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And insurance does not cover this type of hyperbaric treatment for tumors and cancer. They will cover 12 things, but not this.
Right.
So it's got to be up to me. Once again, healer, heal thyself. And I'm so blessed that I have such an amazing network of people. And somebody just happened to have a hyperbaric chamber that can do what I need it to do. And I get to visit El Paso for the first time. So it's all good. But that's going to be on Wednesday, February 4th. From 1 o'clock till 2:30. So if people can't make it in 2 days, you can also come on February 4th. And the best way to find out about me and what this is going on is you can reach out to me on Facebook. You want to find me under Nate Zeleznick or Aeneas, Anaez, or you can reach out to me directly through my normal channels, which is my digital site, which is Aeneas, Anaez aeneas360.com. So aeneas360.com, or I still have the domain natez360.com. And either one of those, you could save me as a contact, reach out. If you'd like to come, I would be honored to have you. And you'll get to meet a lot of very amazing people. And I mean, some of these people are world builders, right? Grammy award-winning musicians. And these are people that have changed many industries. It's going to be awesome.
Yes,
And yeah.
it really is amazing the people that you are bringing together, which I don't think it's just for fundraising. I think that the blessings that you give out to the world, I think that now to be connected with these thought leaders and change makers, it's going to impact even more people through them. And so they're going to facilitate you being able to share that message even more. So thank you so much for what you have shared with us today. We've only scratched the surface. There is so much more fascinating stories that I can't wait to delve into next time. But if you could just leave us with one parting thought that we haven't talked about today, what would you like to say as a parting thought to the audience?
A good friend of mine by the name of Eliyahu. The other day I was speaking with him, and he, we're all mirrors for one another. We really are. And so when you see something on someone else, to ask the question, how is that me? Not how is that for me, but how is that me? Especially if it's something that you don't prefer. It doesn't matter who it is or what they're doing. What Eliyahu talked about is that we're all a mirror. But so many mirrors look around and say to another mirror that's shattered, you're shattered. But that mirror looking back sees its reflection in the mirror and says, no, you're shattered. And so if we're mirrors for each other, but we keep looking at each other as being broken mirrors, because that's what we're reflecting to each other, it's going to go ad nauseum into a cycle of seeing each other as imperfect. But if we can look at each other and see the shiniest parts, the clean, beautiful, polished parts of each other, and we see that in ourselves as well, and we see both sides of this, that's where we have a balanced perception of what is real, rather than just what we judge. And so my encouragement to everybody out there would be, try to see the brokenness in another person as a part of the brokenness in yourself, and how you're actually both still. If it's a stranger, no matter if it's a sibling that you have a rivalry with, you are here to learn from each other as perfectly polished mirrors.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's so true. We are mirrors, and to see the other person's divine identity and to see your own is one of the most powerful things in my experience. It changes the whole dynamic of the interaction regardless of what is going on. And so that thought helps me to then broadcast in a way that I choose to broadcast when I can remember that, in my interactions with others. And so thank you for helping remind us of that. And thank you for the beautiful ways that you broadcast love and service and gratitude and hope. I really appreciate you being with us today, Nate, and can't wait to talk to you again. And we'll put the links for Nate's events Wednesday and in February, and also links for how you can get a hold of him in the comments. So thanks for joining us today. I'm Karen Hall, and this is Nate Zeleznick, and this is the Hero Within podcast. We'll see you all next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.